of motorsports, and that's what they're all trying for today at Tampa Stadium. The four-wheel drive modified trucks hooking up in the Super Bowl of motorsports at Tampa. First up, from Music City, USA, here's Donny Sanders out of Nashville and the Tennessean. Donny will be our first puller today, trying to beat a star-studded field. The cream of the crop in four-wheel drive truck pulling is here in Tampa, as you would expect in the Super Bowl of motorsports. This for a start. A full pull right off the bat for Donny Sanders and the Tennessean. You know the crowd at Tampa's loving this as Donny Sanders takes it right out, right off the start. So we now know we have a full pull. It takes a full pull to force Donny Sanders to go back to work. And the next one up will be the Outlaw Ford. This is Russell DeForest, a Florida-based Ford. We'll see if he's got enough to force a pull-off. As soon as he gets the green flag on the track, the Outlaw will be coming your way. Here comes Russell DeForest. Just about do it, a little bit short of that 250-foot mark. That means a full pull. Here again, Russell DeForest. We'll watch him in the Outlaw. Stretching it on out, getting everything he can out of it, but it's not going to be enough to force Donny Sanders into a pull-off. The distance, 231 feet, 6 inches, 231 and a half for Russell DeForest and the Outlaw. Well, there's one of the more unique-looking four-wheel drive vehicles in the sport today. This is the Gone AWOL Jeep. It says he's on duty now. This is Gene Fanny Jr. And Gene knows it takes a full pull to stay alive in Tampa. Build up a lot of speed, and the Gone AWOL Jeep is going to come up short. Gene Fanny Jr. will come up well short of that full pull mark. He's right around 200 feet, and they'll actually record the distance as 201 feet 9 inches for Gene Fanny Jr. and the Jeep that he calls Gone AWOL on duty. 201.9 is short of that full pull mark, which sits at the 250-foot stripe. Well, here's Mad Dog. This is Aaron Mobley, the Chevrolet, and he calls Mad Dog. Again, it takes a full pull to bring Donny Sanders back. Right now, he's the leader as he took it out of here on the very first pull of the night at Tampa Stadium. Just doesn't seem to be happening for the Mad Dog. Aaron trying to stretch it out, but not enough bite out of the Mad Dog here in Tampa. We'll look at the replay, and you'll see that the Mad Dog just never gets up a real head of steam here, and the sled seems to be doing more of the work. The Mad Dog unable to stretch it out. Ends up close to the 200-foot mark, but well short of that full pull line. The distance for Aaron Mobley and the Mad Dog Chevrolet is 199 feet, 7 inches. Frank Young will be our next competitor as the Monkey Business Ford takes its turn on the track at Tampa, Florida. Then you got to look inside the cab of Monkey Business. All right, the slack is taken out of the chain, and now it'll be a green flag condition on the track, and then it's up to Frank Young, his discretion, as to when he wants to take off. He needs a full pull to force a pull-off. pretty decent run. He burped the throttle early and then tried to hammer it hard, but didn't have quite enough as Monkey Business gets one of the better pulls we've had today, but not enough for a full pull. The distance will come in at 223 feet, 8 inches. So the Monkey Business Ford of Frank Young currently in 3rd place at the Super Bowl of Motorsports for the 4-wheel drive trucks in Tampa, Florida. Well, here's a guy who didn't have to come too far to get to Tampa out of West Green, Georgia. This is Tony Osteen and the Georgia Rebel Ford. Ready to put it in gear and go. Now, Osteen's one of these guys that really wears his feelings for his Fords on his sleeve. He does not like to see a Chevrolet up there sitting number 1. He'll try and put a Ford into a pull-off with the Chevy of Donny Sanders. Let's see if he can do it. Yes, indeed, he's got enough. Tony Osteen and the Georgia Rebel Ford guarantees us of a pull-off because he bangs it out of Tampa Stadium. It's a full pull for the Georgia Rebel Ford, and now we have a Ford and a Chevrolet headed to a pull-off, and they may get some company because several of the world's best 4-wheel drive pullers are still to come here on Super Tracks, like Donald Maddox and the appropriately named Mad Ox. He's kind of separated his last name, put a little space between the second D and the O, and you've got a Mad Ox. That's what's heading down the track in Tampa. Donald Maddox trying to get a full pull. Waited a little too late to really air it out as the Ford, he burped it a couple of times and then really tried to hammer it. The strategy, of course, works well, but you've got to hammer it at the right time, and Maddox was unable to get up enough speed to take it out. His pull will come in at 217 feet, 6 inches, 217 and a half for Donald Maddox and the Mad Ox. Well, here's one that'll send you to the TV screen to try and adjust your color if it's off any, because this is the Pumpkin, and the Pumpkin is a bright orange here in Tampa, Florida. Larry Harrison and the Pumpkin hooked next, trying to join the pull-off that right now includes the Tennessean Chevrolet and the Georgia Rebel Ford. It's still a Ford and a Chevy in the pull-off. The Dodge was unable to join them. Larry Harrison and the Pumpkin stretching it out for everything he can, but it's not enough here at the Super Bowl of Motorsports. The Pumpkin will come in at 220 feet, 9 inches. So Larry Harrison right now sitting about in the middle of the pack at Tampa. The Saturday Night Driller, former national champion in 4-wheel drive modified truck pulling. This is Tommy Holman out of Wayne, Ohio, and he knows what's in front of him. He needs to take his Chevrolet out of here to get into the pull-off with Donny Sanders, the Tennessean, and Tony Osteen, the Georgia Rebel. Nice smooth start. He's looking good. Well past the full pull line for Tommy Holman and the Saturday Night Driller. Nice, smooth, picture-perfect pull for Tommy Holman out of Wayne, Ohio. Now there are 3 in the pull-off. We're about halfway through the competition in the Tampa Super Bowl of Motorsports. We'll see if anybody else can join the pull-off in just a minute. Super Tracks back at the Super Bowl in Tampa, Florida. 4-wheel drive modified truck pulling, and Bob Smith You see, if you could look in the passenger side of the cab, there it is. He rides with a passenger. That big bear is part of the Three Bears pulling team. And Bob Smith out of Virginia will try to take his Chevrolet into a pull-off that already includes Donny Sanders and the Tennessean Chevrolet, Tony Osteen and the Georgia Rebel Ford, and Tommy Holman and the Saturday Night Driller Chevy. Not quite enough for Bob Smith and the Three Bears Chevrolet. 214 feet 10 inches is the indication we're getting. Well short of that full pull line and the pull-off. That'll be coming up a little bit later. So Bob Smith, a pretty good pull out of Virginia, but not quite enough right there as Three Bears comes in at 214.10. Well, next up, a big, strong Texas puller, Dwayne Bethke. This is the STP pulling team Chevrolet. A lot of his fans and friends certainly have made it up from the San Antonio area. And now Bethke will try to reward them with a full pull right here. Slack is out, and Bethke's on his way. Looky here, plenty to spare for the STP pulling team out of Seguin, Texas. Dwayne Bethke with our fourth full pull of the Tampa Stadium competition. And 3 of those going to the pull-off so far are Chevys, although we do have some other top Ford competitors still to come. Next up, you look in the cab with Marty Smith, the Just Fine Chevrolet. Hopes he's fine enough to join the pull-off here at the Tampa Super Bowl. Waiting for the track to be cleared out. The U.S. Hot Rod officials checking things out, and indeed, it is now clear at the finish end, and so the track belongs to Marty Smith and Just Fine. Boy, it does not sound good at all for Marty. Here he goes, but I don't think he's going to go too far sounding like that. No, unfortunately, you can hear it coming. Just Fine detonates halfway down, not even, I guess about halfway down the track now that I look at it. 123.9 is what they're telling us the official distance is. Marty Smith and Just Fine never got it going. The engine sounded bad sitting there idling and sounded worse when he tried to pull it. A bad break for Just Fine, and Marty Smith goes to the sidelines. At the top of the sport today, you got to talk about this guy, Glen Davis, and the Mr. Sparkle Chevrolet out of Miramar, Florida. The national champ ready to go. It's Glen Davis. Now the track is his. Glen taking a lot of time. He could start at any point once things have gone green, and now he brings the RPMs up. Here comes Mr. Sparkle. That's why he's considered the best in the sport right now. Glen Davis and Mr. Sparkle hammers it out the back end and then pumps that fist in the air because he knows he's put another Chevrolet in the pull-off at Tampa Stadium. Glen Davis and Mr. Sparkle with a full pull. So now there are 5 that we'll see again. Could the 6th be the Doe Runner? We're about to find out as Roy Everett hooks his Chevrolet to the sled. The Doe Runner Chevrolet. Roy Everett as you go inside the cockpit with Roy here on Super Tracks. Trying to keep the RPMs up now, ready to go. The Doe Runner has a green flag condition on the track. He can go at any time. Notice how Roy actually hangs out the window. Very unusual style for the Doe Runner. He comes up well short of the full pull mark, but again, one of the few guys you'll see hanging that far out the window. He's not looking through the windshield. He is actually hanging out, checking the track out, and getting clobbered by mud as well. Nonetheless, the Doe Runner with a pretty good pull, but not enough for the pull-off. It's 220 feet, 11 inches. This guy here has been having a super season. David Willoughby, back in time, and you can see why with this classic body styling. He calls it back in time. Trying to put the Ford fans in a little better light. Only one Ford has got it out of here so far, Tony Osteen's Georgia Rebel. But our last two competitors will try to add some Ford flavor to a growing pull-off field. We now have 5 who have qualified, and David Willoughby tries to make it 6. There you go, a 6th qualifier for our pull-off as David Willoughby records a full pull with back in time. Tony Osteen now has some company to go up against those Chevrolets as the 1940 model of David Willoughby will be coming back in the pull-off. And our final competitor with a chance to make it to the pull-off is another Ford out of Florida. This is Charlie Lowe and Killer 2 out of beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. So Charlie didn't have to make too long a haul this week to make it to the competition, having to come across to Tampa. He is now ready to go in Killer 2. We'll see if the Ford has enough to make it to the pull-off. It was all Chevys earlier, but the Fords are finishing with a flourish. Another full pull as we have a lucky 7 coming back for the pull-off after Charlie Lowe bangs Killer 2 out of Tampa Stadium. Once again on the replay, just a nice smooth run for Charlie Lowe and Killer 2. So you see the 7 that are going to the pull-off. Donny Sanders, Tony Osteen, Tommy Holman, Dwayne Bathke, Glen Davis, David Willoughby, and Charlie Lowe will all be back for the pull-off. The Outlaw runs 8th. Then it's Monkey Business. Doe Runner rounds out the top 10 in this star-studded field from Tampa, followed by Pumpkin, Mad Ox, 3 Bears, Gone AWOL, Mad Dog, ahead just fine. You know, when the U.S. Hot Rod Association starts getting the field set for the Super Bowl of Motorsports in Tampa, you know all the best are coming, and that is why you've got 7 qualified for the pull-off. This is going to be an outstanding competition to try and decide the winner here at Tampa. 7 of the world's best will now hook once again because really they've settled nothing in the first round except to see who can go on and try and get the win. Donny Sanders is back out in the Tennessean. He's from Nashville, Tennessee. Been quite a while actually since we saw Donny. He was the first competitor here at Tampa. He had a full pull then. Let's see if the first spot is still magic as he starts the pull-off. Nice pull from Donny Sanders. You know, he's already got one of the most prestigious trophies in pulling on his mantelpiece, that from the summer event at Bowling Green, Ohio, and he would love to add the trophy from the Super Bowl at Tampa to that collection, and he certainly has put a pull on the board that's going to be hard to handle. 235 and 2, 235 feet 2 inches for Donny Sanders and the Tennessean Chevrolet. But there are 6 of the best in the world coming after him now. So Donny knows he's got some huge bullets to try and dodge. The first one will be fired from that big Ford revolver. It's the Georgia Rebel and Tony Osteen out of West Green, Georgia. Close, but it appears the Ford is a little bit short. No problems we can see. It just looks like Osteen didn't quite have enough to pass the Tennessean's mark. His distance is 229 feet 5 inches, so he's about 6 feet short of the lead distance set down by Donny Sanders in the Tennessean. Tommy Holman getting things fired up as you were inside the Saturday Night Driller with the former national champ out of Wayne, Ohio. Track is green, and Tommy Holman will take off now. He's going to be close, and I think he's done it. Tommy Holman has gone past the mark laid down by Donny Sanders in the Tennessean, and at the end of the run, you could see he knew it as he fired that right fist straight up in the air. The distance, 238 feet, 11 inches, and that is the run that is now on top. Tommy Holman, Saturday Night Driller, sits number 1. Now Dwayne Bethke and another Chevrolet from Seguin, Texas, the STP pulling team, has to beat 238.11. Dwayne ready to go. Slack is out. And he slowly gets STP going. A little squirrely in the middle of the run, and I think that cost him some. As there you see it, he really went all the way left and had to come all the way back to the center of the track as he was facing it, and he came up well short of the mark. 219 and a half feet, 219 feet, 6 inches for Dwayne Bethke and STP. Well, Saturday Night Driller, Tommy Holman sits number 1, but I guarantee you he's pacing the pits right now, because here comes Glen Davis, the reigning national champ in Mr. Sparkle. The Chevy from Miramar, Florida, will try to go past 238. And he's going to do it. He indeed has gone past the mark laid down by Tommy Holman. Glen Davis has done it again. Mr. Sparkle, the Florida-based Chevrolet, comes up and takes over the lead in Tampa with a distance of 240 feet, 8 inches by almost a full 2 feet over the Saturday Night Driller's distance. So Mr. Sparkle sits at number 1. Here's a guy having a great season, and a guy certainly who has enough to try and challenge Davis here. It's David Willoughby and the classic he calls Back in Time. Still waiting for green flag conditions on the track, and now indeed he will get the green flag waved at him. The green lights are on the sled, everything's ready, and here goes David Willoughby's Back in Time. Not going to be enough as Willoughby comes up well short of the mark set down by Glen Davis and Mr. Sparkle. Back in Time will record an official distance of 218 feet even. 218 even. So that right now will leave him 6th in the competition with 1 more to go in the pull-off. Another Florida-based truck, Charlie Lowe, and the Killer 2 Ford out of West Palm. Being hooked to the sled, Ford's last chance to knock Chevrolet from the mantle, from the top, here in Tampa. And here comes Killer 2. Enough. He's going to come up well short of the mark, and Glen Davis in Mr. Sparkle is going to record the victory at the Tampa Super Bowl of Motorsports. Killer 2 coming up short, the final in the pull-off with a 206 feet, 2-inch distance. Charlie Lowe and Killer 2 will finish 7th in the overall competition. So once again, it's Glen Davis and Mr. Sparkle. Tommy Holman finishes 2nd. Donny Sanders 3rd. Tony Osteen 4th. Dwayne Bethke 5th. David Willoughby is 6th. And Charlie Lowe ends up 7th at Tampa. More monster truck